if anyone can hear me or if anyone is out there. I'm really sorry about the technical problems we've been having. There's a new version of Facebook Live where it takes you to something called Live Producer, which I don't know how it works. I couldn't make it work. And this is the first time I've done Facebook Live at all. I'm hoping I might be talking to someone. I don't know if that's true or not. If you're out there, drop us a comment. That'd be great. I'm happy to answer questions as we go along. Cool. So I'm going to assume that I'm live. I'm going to assume that you can hear me and talk to me. So I've got Terry Dowding calling me. So I'm going to speak to Terry. Terry, hello. I'm all right, thank you. How are you? I think I'm live now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm live now. I think you're talking to me live now. I think I am. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I am. Yeah, they've got a new interface. They've changed the interface. So yeah, your instructions were. Your instructions look great, but it was harder. But I'm gonna crack on. All right, cheers. Bye. Bye. Terry, just checking that I'm okay, that we're on, but we are on. So, my name is Richard Piper, and I am the Chief Executive of Alcohol Change UK. So, Alcohol Change UK exists to reduce alcohol harm. We're not interested in how much people drink or alcohol. We're not anti-alcohol in any way. We've only got a problem with the harm that happens when people drink too much. And in particular, we're really keen that we, all of us in Britain, in society, keep the fun. So how can we reduce the harm but keep the fun? So that's what we're all about as an organisation. I joined the organisation 2.5 years ago. It's fair to say 3.5 years ago I was very significantly overweight. I was 13.5 stone, and to put that into context, I'm 5'7". So my BMI was just into obese. When I grew up, my sister was fairly big. My mum was big, and I was the thin one. So it was really weird. So sort of suddenly I had this realization. It's like, oh my god, I've let myself become obese, and I got a real wake up call. So I started tracking my calories, as many of you may have done and may have tried doing. And I was absolutely blown away by the amount of calories in alcohol. It's also fair to say that I was drinking every day, and I was drinking, I couldn't remember the last day I hadn't drunk, and I was drinking way above the low risk drinking guidelines, which I'm sure you know are 14 units a week, which is about 5 pints of beer. If you drink 5 pints of beer and don't drink any more than that in a week, your risk of dying from alcohol is really quite low. If you go above that, your risk of dying from alcohol really rockets. And in fact, many people don't appreciate this. We just even don't want to hear this. Alcohol is the biggest cause of death for men of working age. So up to the age of 65, alcohol is the biggest cause of death. We don't want to talk about that. We don't hear about that stat. And the reason for that is that we all love our drink, and as a culture and as a nation, we love talking about alcohol, we love drinking alcohol. But actually, it is a toxic, addictive drug that causes very significant health harm over the long term. That's just a fact. But we don't think of it like that. We think of it in glamour, we think of it as socialising, we think about it as friends, we think about it as relaxing. We have all these positive associations with alcohol that are so strong. They feel so strong, those associations, that we find it really hard to think about alcohol in a different way. But I realised how much I was drinking, so I cut my drinking down. I got my weight right down. I lost about 3 stone, got down 10 stone too, and I started exercising. So I started running. I've always played football, so I've played football for the last 17 years, at least once, sometimes twice a week. I'm not very good, but I love playing. I'm one of those players who kind of is always desperate to find somewhere where you can play, where they accept people who enjoy the game without being good at the game. And I think I've been very lucky, played for two different five-a-side teams that have both kind of been kind of relaxed about how good you are as long as you join in and have a good go. So I've always played football, but I really took it up a level in terms of running in particular was kind of what worked for me. And that really led to the weight loss. And interestingly, I got control of my food. I got control of my running, my exercise, and I really saw the weight coming off. But I found the alcohol really challenging, and that crept back up again. And I was probably by June of that year. So I started in January. I did dry January. By June, it was back to normal, which unfortunately is not normal. It was way above what other people would be drinking. Then I got this job. And I had this weird moment at the interview for this job where the recruitment consultant said, "Is there any reason why you shouldn't have this job?" I said, "Well, kind of that's they've given you loads of reasons why I should have this job. No, there's no reasons why I shouldn't have this job." And I thought it was a strange question. Afterwards, I worked out what he was asking. He was asking me if I've got an alcohol problem. And as the day of starting the job came closer, I realised that maybe I do have an alcohol problem. If I can't not drink, I've got an alcohol problem. And I found the idea of not drinking really horrendous. So what did that mean? So I thought I'm going to have to really try this. So Alcohol Change UK, we run Dry January. It's our campaign. It's the biggest global health campaign on the planet. Over 4 million people do it just in the UK. It's like 1 in 10 UK adults give Dry January a go every year, and it's a different 1 in 10 each year. So you know more people have tried it than 1 in 10. And I did it in 2018 when I was in the job for the second time I'd done it, but this time I did it not for the weight loss, not for the health, but to get control of my drinking, to take it down to a place where I felt in control of it and it didn't feel in control of me. That was my objective. In the end, I did 2018. I drank 16 times, and to me that was just mind blowing. To go 300 and whatever it is, 349 days without having a drink, and a whole world opened up to me. A whole world of waking up feeling good every morning. I used to think that was a thing about adulthood, right? Adulthood is when you wake up and feel crap every morning. That's what I thought. It was just because I've been drinking my entire adulthood. I went back to being like, that 9-year-old who wakes up full of energy. I didn't realise that it could come back, and it came back. Concentration level, my ability to be productive, my ability to focus, loads and loads of those sort of soft psychological life benefits. Knowing that my health risks were dropping by the day, because the longer you stop drinking for or drink less, the better. So knowing that my risk of cancer, 7 forms of cancer are directly linked to alcohol. You'll have heard liver disease, but also strokes. Many strokes are caused by alcohol. Heart problems. Alcohol is one of the biggest causes of heart problems. So all these things that we die of when we give money to, cancer charities and heart charities, alcohol's behind so many of those deaths. As I said, it's the biggest cause of death of adult men in the UK of working age. So knowing that my risks from that were coming down was just fantastic. But it was those day-to-day benefits. It was waking up in the morning and actually feeling present. I used to love that fog and the dizziness, but then it would always go beyond that into kind of being basically pissed. And that clarity of thought of being not like that, I kind of realised was a gift. I realised it was absolutely fantastic just to feel fresh and to feel good. So that freshness of thought, being present, being able to enjoy things. I had to go through quite a lot of moments. So I did a whole month, obviously. That was January, and I did sort of most of February, and then I had a bit in March, and it crept up a bit in June. But then I got control again. The first time I did 100 days not drinking in a row. That was it for me. After that, I just felt completely in control. And I now call myself occasional drinker. So I'll drink on occasion when I feel like it. As it happens, I haven't felt like it for the last 224 days. I haven't drunk the last 224 days at all. And it is so much easier keeping the weight off, and saving a hell of a load of money as well, and knowing I'm getting those health harms. So I'm not at all, I'm really not here today to advocate going sober. That's kind of, everybody's got a free total choice on that one. But what you might want to do is think about bringing your drinking down, if you're drinking a lot, and bringing it under control. And I would say the psychological control is the key. Feeling that you're in control of it. You can turn it on when you want it, and you can turn it off again. If you can't turn it off, that's when you've got a drinking problem. We've got this thing in our country, when we think about drinking problem, someone with a drinking problem, we think of the word alcoholic. Pretty much, science says there's no such thing as an alcoholic. It kind of doesn't make sense as a concept. There is a spectrum of people, as there is with weight. There's not people who are overweight and people, everyone knows everyone else. It's not really, we know the BMI is a gradient. We know this is a question of degree. It's the same with drinking. Actually, there is a small number of people who have an alcohol problem that we would describe as dependency physically, where if they stop drinking, they'll get physical withdrawal symptoms, tremors of the hand, sweats, really, really severe headaches. But there's a huge middle group, which I was in, who are absolutely problem drinkers, who just don't kind of feel that they could stop drinking. And if you feel you can't stop drinking for a month or a week or longer, if you feel you couldn't do that, you've got a degree of addiction to alcohol. It's a fact. And that addiction has a degree, and it starts very small, but it creeps up and up and up, and it gets stronger and stronger until you end up at this extreme end. So taking action on it sooner. The sooner you take action, the easier. Before it grips into you. But also the health benefits are just, as I said, absolutely amazing. I wanted to see, I don't know if there's any questions. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. But I wanted to briefly talk to you about alcohol and calories. So that's an area that a lot of people ask me about. So I've got some visuals here. So this is, you'll recognise, a can of cider, Strongbow cider. That contains how many calories? We don't know. We don't know because alcohol is the only thing you take into your body that doesn't have to have its ingredients on it and doesn't have to have the number of calories on it. Absolutely, I was going to swear, absolutely shocking that these products don't have to, we have to tell us what's in them. But I've done the research on it. It's 154 calories. 154 calories. What I've got over here is a bottle of alcohol-free cider. I've tried this. Low alcohol. It's low alcohol, so it's 0.5% alcohol. Now, anything that's got 0.5% alcohol in is about as alcoholic as a ripe banana or some ripe fruit, or indeed a little bit more, but not a lot more than orange juice. So actually, pretty much we'd call that alcohol-free. 0.5%. You can't drink it quick enough to get yourself drunk because your body processes that small amount of alcohol quicker than you can drink. I think you have to drink 25 of these in half an hour to start, which is impossible. I'd love to see someone try to raise your blood a half of a drink driving level. So very, very difficult. But this, critically, it has the ingredients on it. It has and it has the calorie information in it. So this is, does it have the calorie information? I believe it does. Yes, so it's got 28 calories compared to 154 calories. And taste, well, you're going to have to trust me on this, but it's incredible. It just tastes like cider. Absolutely amazing. If you're into lagers, I mean, this is pretty nasty stuff in my view. Who would drink that? I don't know, but people do. People drink this. So this is Foster's. Again, no information on calories. It does have its ingredients in it, but it doesn't have to. This contains 177 calories. So that's actually more than the cider. 177 calories. This is a alcohol-free beers. Some of you will have seen this in the shops. Alcohol, it's called Infinite Session. It's an IPA. It's absolutely fantastic. Tastes amazing. That's 39 calories. It's a slightly smaller can, but you get the point. So alcohol-free beers contain far fewer calories than alcoholic ones. And the reason for that is they got less sugar gets put into them in the first place. In alcohol, the sugar, some of it stays as sugar and some of it turns into alcohol. But these drinks, they've got less sugar in the first place, so and therefore less alcohol. If you're into IPAs, I would recommend Citra IPA. It's really, really amazing. From Big Drop. This is a brewery that only does alcohol-free. That's worth a go. If you're into stouts, that's my favourite. Rock Soda Zero Fear, 0.0% stout. That is 20 calories. 20 calories for that. Incredible. And then if you are into the wines, some of you will have seen this sort of stuff around. This alcohol-free sparkling wine tends to be ever so slightly sweeter than the very dry Prosecco, but still tastes amazing. And finally, for you ale drinkers, I'm sure some of you will have tried this Ghost Ship Adnams, which is 23 calories per 100 millilitres. So essentially, if you want to watch your weight and you're looking to enjoy a drink, but you're also wanting to be healthy in terms of your longer term life chances, I suppose essentially we're talking about here, which about long term health risks, those alcohol free drinks can be amazing. There's now over 250 alcohol free beers out there. The market has just exploded. And almost all of it tastes great. Some of it tastes absolutely amazing. Some of these drinks are winning awards against alcohol-containing beers. They're definitely worth a go. We've had some questions sent in by players. We'll post these to Richard Pipe at different points tonight. Fantastic. I'm just reading the comments. Addictive personalities come up. It's a great question. I hate to bust a myth, but the addictive personality thing is a myth. The idea that we have a personality that's addictive isn't true. Humans are pretty much equally or non-equally addictive to each other, but they're to different substances. So some people will be more, find it easier to get addicted to alcohol. Some people will find it easier to get addicted to other things. But there is no, so the science on this has been pretty rigorously looked at, and our organisation is a research organisation as well, so we do a lot of work on research. The idea of an addictive personality, it's tempting. Unfortunately, it's not true. There are differences between people's experiences of addiction to different products, but that would be very deep psychologically, physiologically. So it would be your body, not your mind, that the addiction is affecting. So your body will get more or less addicted to alcohol. But the psychology of it and the personality side of it, that has no bearing on it. I would say, however, that there are some links between consumption and overconsumption of things. So, for example, when we run Dry January, many of the hundreds of people who go on our Facebook group, we have a Facebook group for Dry January, I think it's got 7,000 people on it. One of the most common experiences is, I've stopped drinking, I feel great. Wow, I feel great. But I'm eating so much extra sweet stuff. Suddenly I'm craving sugar, I'm craving chocolate, I'm craving sweets. That's really, really common. Essentially, your body's got used to a lot of sugar from the alcohol, and it's trying to replace it. So it's telling you, what's happened to the sugar? Get more sugar in. So people develop a sweet tooth. But there's also similar psychological issues in relation to over-consuming anything. If we're over-consuming alcohol or food, or indeed binge watching TV, playing computer games, often what we're doing is we're escaping from something psychologically. That's not to do with our personality, but that is to do with our circumstances and our situation. It may be that we're unhappy, maybe that we're depressed or anxious. It may be that the current environment many of us are in terms of being at home, might be causing stress. And we can look for that release in a number of different ways, including overeating and or overdrinking. So they can often be expressions of a similar kind of circumstances. But I would say that's different to a personality. Resisting the temptation of going to the fridge. Well, it depends what you're trying to do. So this is why Dry January works. If you're interested in doing Dry January, I couldn't recommend more highly this book, Try Dry. And it's deliberately called Try Dry because the point is you're not trying, the book is not about trying a life of being dry. You can have your interpretation of what dry means. It can be dry after 10 o'clock in the evening. So I'll drink till at 10 o'clock and then I'll be dry. Or I want to be dry Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Or I want to be dry on a Saturday and Sunday because that's the days I struggle with. Or whatever it means to you. So the key really is to set the goal for where you want to get to. What would be your ideal control of drinking? I would say for many people you'd want 14 units as part of that, so 14 units a week being your maximum to keep your risks low and also saving an awful lot of calories. But also what your goal is different to how you get there. And I'm sure many of you who've been through a life change or experienced a life change will know what I mean. Where you want to get to and the journey to get there are different things. And with alcohol, you need a break. So pretty much all the science says if you want to get to a goal of moderating, you need a break completely from it to get there. Moving straight to moderating almost in all cases is very, very difficult and people find it very hard to make that work. And the reason for that is you've got the temptation in the fridge. You go, I'll just buy that bottle, a couple of bottles, whatever, 3 bottles, but I'm going to leave them, I'll leave them for the weekend. Having them in the fridge is really unhelpful. Your mind is constantly thinking, you're starting to crave it. And with alcohol, it is easier. Unlike other forms of food, you don't have to have it in the house. You can, particularly if you've got a supportive partner on this one, you can just take it out of the house. Most recommendations would be 60 to 80 days. Pretty much everybody would get drink control if they had 60 to 80 days without drinking. And then you can go back to whatever control you want it to look like for you, whether you want to be a moderator or an occasional drinker, or you want to be completely abstinent, whatever works for you. But you need that break to get to that point. So taking a break, using that sort of support like that book, Try Dry, can be really powerful. But not having it in the house worked for me. So I don't have alcohol. These 2 cans I've got here, the Strongbow and the Fosters. I don't like Fosters, that's not worrying me. The Strongbow, I keep in the garage. I use it for professional purposes only, but I do know it's there. And it's a bit annoying that I have to have it in the house, but not having it in the house is definitely helpful. One thing I would absolutely recommend, it's got the same name, Try Dry, but this is a free app. Now this is a premium app, so this is a really, really high quality app, but it's completely free. It doesn't just track your days, and this is my data. So I've got 859 drink-free days, as you can see. I've saved 340,000 calories since I've been using the app. So I've been using the app obviously for 2.5 years, 3 years actually. But the key is that this app allows you to set goals. So if you look at, I'm clicking on progress and I get the hang of it using the screen. You've got badges here and you've got goals. So I've shown you the badges. The key there is you can have Dry January, obviously. You've got Sober Spring, which we're in the middle of now, but you can reducing your alcohol means taking it down by 50%. That's really popular. If you're a really heavy drinker, reducer's a great goal to set yourself. Moderator, that's if you want to be that 14 unit a day guy, 14 unit a week guy. I can't believe I said a day. So 14 unit a week. Set that goal and you get badges, you get rewards for achieving that. So this is all very gamified. You can have dry streaks. As you can see, I'm currently going for my 1 year dry streak. I think I'm going to get there, no problem. And then you just have the total number of dry days. So and it's got loads of other features in it as well that allow you to set yourself those goals and hold yourself accountable, which is really, really important. Now, I know there's loads of arguments about tracking and accountability and how often we should or shouldn't weigh ourselves, whether or not we should and shouldn't count calories. And you will have your own views on that. But if you're someone for whom tracking and accountability works, that's the way to go. It really, really worked. It really worked for me. It really makes a difference for people, and we have hundreds of thousands of users of that app around the world, and it contains great content. I've got a few more questions coming in. So how would you deal with managing alcohol during this extra stressful time? So, I think you've put your finger really there on that in that question on the fact that stress is a real trigger for alcohol. We often actually think about alcohol as justified in pretty much any circumstance, right? Christening, marriage, 18th birthday, marriage, first child, funerals, relaxing, socializing. If you're stressed, if you're not stressed, if you want to celebrate, if you want to commiserate, we literally that's what we do. That's what we do as humans. Is we find rationalizations to make sense and to legitimate drinking as much as we can, For most people with drinking problem, basically they're drinking as much as they can and they feel they can get away with. Set themselves rules to try and control it, but pretty much that's what the human in us, the chimp in us, is doing. Is it wants more and more of this substance because it is addictive, it's more addictive than the number of other illegal drugs, which is why it's the most dangerous drug on the planet. Not just in terms of the total numbers, but also in terms of the number of deaths. And the number of people that die from alcohol is double that of all the illegal drugs put together in the UK. So it's our biggest killer drug, far more than smoking as well. So I got off the point. What was the great question? It was a question about stress. So of course, stress is an absolute trigger. We want a way to soothe and calm ourselves, and alcohol is something that's really tempting us. That's why I would say having alcohol-free products in your house. One of the most common experiences with alcohol-free products is that you try it and you go, actually not quite the same. It's not quite the same. It's not. It is a bit different. But the point is that you acquire the taste. And in fact, if you remember when you, particularly for those of you like me that started drinking beer, I started drinking ale at 15. My first pint was so bitter it was untrue. I don't know if it was just because it was my first one, but literally it tasted of earwax. But I had to get to the bottom of the pint because all the other boys were drinking it. They were all older than me. I had to work quite hard to acquire that taste, and I did work hard to acquire that taste. Boy, I'm not saying I'd regret it, but I'm not sure how smart that was. The taste for no alcohol will be acquired, I would say, in half the time. In 3, 4, 5 days, you'll be going, okay. Within a week or two, if you try, particularly something strong, like you will suddenly realise that wine is really, really strong. Like, I can't touch wine now, alcoholic wine. If I even sniff it, I've gone off it. I've lost that taste. Losing the taste is absolutely liberating because suddenly you don't have that craving, you don't have that desire. And I think moving to that place is really powerful. One of the things that makes alcohol very different to food is that whatever we might think in the age of coronavirus, it isn't essential. There is one group for whom alcohol is essential, and that's people who are physically addicted. If you are physically addicted and you stop drinking straight away, you can get something called fatal withdrawal, and unfortunately it's really common. For fatal withdrawal, clearly you die from withdrawal, and it can happen within days. So if anyone watching this does cut down their drinking or stop drinking for a day or two and experiences those symptoms, get to a GP or A&E immediately. I hope that's none of you guys. For that group, alcohol is essential. For the rest of us, it's entirely optional. It's much more like cigarettes in that sense. It's something you can have in your life. You can have a bit of it in your life, but you know it comes with risks, but you try and keep it under control. With smoking, we kind of think there's no safe amount. With alcohol, very small amounts, you're actually, your risks are really quite low. And a lot of people get a lot of pleasure, so we wouldn't argue at all against drinking. But you do want to bring it down carefully. You're bringing it down from a very high level, which is where our reducer badges fit in. So feeling that you've got that control back is, I would say, an incredible feeling. If any of you guys are interested, our website, alcoholchange.org.uk, has got loads and loads of advice. And if you're at all worried or curious about whether you should be worried, our website has a quiz on there, it's clinically, it's really clear and accessible, but it's also clinically valid quiz which will give you results about your drinking, and specific advice based on what scores you'd get. So I definitely give that a go. There's so much to be gained from getting control of your drinking. I would say, I mean, my health and fitness I haven't mentioned, but you know, my running times, I'm a bit of a geek about that. You can tell I like a track. I like to track my times. So yeah, my broader sort of fitness and health has improved so much. The food definitely helped with that, but the drink for me took that to a completely new level, of just feeling really fit and healthy, and knowing that my health risks long term are coming down, but also the shorter term, that shorter term feeling of just kind of being fresh. It's an amazing feeling. So in the stressful time, I would say get those low alcohol beers in. Get the other ones out. If you've got a garage or a loft, stick them in there. If you want to, you know, keep them, drink them. But once they're gone, don't replenish. And then replenish with alcohol-free options. Get used to that taste. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed if you open a bottle of low alcohol beer, start pouring. I'm getting it now. I'm getting that feeling, and you can get that feeling without having to have the alcohol, without having to have the calories. That's the amazing thing about it. It's to do with the mind. We have so many associations with these. Oh, it's that glass, or it's that crack, or it's the can, or it's the cheers. All of those things we keep all those, and we've got all those associations with those of feeling good and feeling relaxed. You're keeping all that. We're keeping all that fun, keeping all that pleasure, keeping all that socializing, but without having to have the actual ethanol, the actual chemical in that substance, which is the dangerous stuff. Take that out, and the feeling's great. So I'm not suggesting you do that forever, but during a stressful time, if you find your drinking creeping up, alcohol-free options, or just a complete break, are really, really recommended. So I don't know if there's any other questions. I'll just scoot down here. Let's have a little look from Philip Carpenter asking the name of the app. The app is called Try Dry. It's asking me if I stayed dry today. So this is what it says. I've got stayed dry, I've got drank, or I've got drank as planned. So if I plan to have a drink, I plan to have 2 pints, and I have 2 pints, I click that. That's fine. I don't feel bad about myself. That's what I did. If I plan to have 2 and I have 9, I've got to click this one, plan. But if I stay dry, and I will be staying dry today, I know I will. So sometimes I click this in the morning. So I stay dry, so I'm done. So there's my badges again, and then I show you my calendar. So here's my calendar for March. As you can tell, I'm doing pretty well at the moment. I should be, right? It's my job. You got your calendar, and you got your dashboard, which shows you your savings. So as you can, the money's cool. So look, I've saved £5 grand, not drinking. That's a pretty decent holiday, or possibly towards the next car. A lot of units and a lot of calories. And if I just close the app, you can see it load up. So it's called Try Dry. That's its loading screen. It's the app for dry January and beyond. The point is you can use it all year. You can decide to have a dry month anytime. January is quite useful because lots of people are doing it, so you're kind of less out on your own. But actually, you know, if you've got a supportive partner, I think particularly supportive mates, taking a break anytime can be great. And then the book has got the same name, Try Dry, forward by Lee Mack, very funny man, quite funny forward. It's quite a serious issue, I guess. He grew up in a pub, and he had problems in his family with alcohol. So top bloke. So that book contains loads and loads and loads of really, really good advice and guidance if you are struggling to have a month off. If you're not struggling to have a month off, brilliant, fantastic. Go for a couple of months. If you can, as I say, you can get to 60 to 80 days not drinking. All the evidence we've looked at so far from our communities is that once you get that point, it clicks. You get control back, and then you can go to whatever level you want to go to, whether it's staying at the highest level or moderate level, or not drinking, or whatever you want to be doing. Drinking occasionally when it suits you. So Philip, long answer, sorry mate, to a very simple, clear question. What was the name of the app? TryDry is the name of the app. Josh Kraft has asked, if this has been already asked, don't worry. Is it true that alcohol helps boost your metabolism and 1 or 2 beers a day is actually good for you? No, I'm sorry, it isn't. So 1 or 2 beers a day not being good for you. So let me deal with that bit first. Is a small amount of alcohol good for you? So the answer, unfortunately, is a bit annoying. It's yes and no, and it depends which health condition you're looking at. If you're looking at cancer, the more it's a linear relationship. So basically, the more you drink along the bottom, the higher your risk of cancer. It's linear. So, and it starts from 0. So basically, with cancer, drinking 2 beers a day, which let's say 4 units a day, 4 times 7, 28. So you're double your low risk guidelines there. You'd be up here. So your risk of dying of alcohol related cancer would be 2 to 3% chance of dying from that. Other things, it's a curve. So the curve doing this means that if you double the amount you're drinking, the risk doesn't go up linear, it goes up much more. So if you are drinking 2 beers a day, 28 units, for a condition like liver disease, your risk will be much, much higher. It won't be twice as high, even though you're drinking twice as much as the low risk drinking guidelines. It will be more like 3 or 4 times as high. So your risk could be creeping up to 10%, even at 28 units a week, which might not sound a lot. 2 beers a day, that's 4 units a day. So you are your risk of dying from liver disease, you're probably already at 10%. And when you add these different risks together, your total risk of dying from alcohol suddenly becomes really quite high. Many people will have a total alcohol risk of 50-60%. In other words, you stand a 1 in 2 chance of dying before you're 65 of alcohol. That's why so many men in this country die of alcohol. As I said, it's the biggest killer for working age men. It depends what it is, and then there is an important caveat, which are that there are some conditions that actually have something called a J-shaped curve. I'm going to try and draw this in the air. So if we start, it depends which way you're looking at this, but if you start looking at this here, if you're drinking 0, it's here, but if you drink a little bit, it actually goes down. Your risk goes down, and then it goes up and increases. So for certain, only 1 heart condition, I think, or 2 heart conditions, I believe, there's an infraction and a second heart condition. However, the benefits are only being observed in women, they've never been observed in men. So this idea that moderation drinking is good for you have only been observed with women. It's only women who are in their 40s and 50s, it only relates to a certain sort of red wine, and it only applies to 2 heart conditions. Unfortunately, the alcohol industry, as you can imagine, loves that bit of research and keeps pushing it out there and generalising it to everybody all the time. So the reality is small amounts of alcohol are less good for you than no alcohol, but they're much better than too much. So I would say, if you're tempted to drink 2 a night, and you like having 2 beers a night, have 2 beers a night for 3 nights and have the other 4 off. Or spread those 5, 6, 7 drinks over the week and have 1 a night. But I think knowing what your units are, I mean, the industry is unfortunately really a bugger. If I look at these drinks, this one does. So this one says the number of units on it, 2.2 units. So 40, you can have 7 of those a week. You'd be low risk. But get to know those units. Don't let marketing and advertising kind of get in your head and try and control you. Get control of what you're taking in your body and how many units you're taking in. If you can't get to 14 straight away because you're finding it hard, you want to reduce gradually. I think that would be a safe way to reduce, but also quite empowering, and you can keep a track on that again in that app. There's something called a reducer badge where you halve what you're drinking a day. What level of drinking? This Philip has asked a fantastic question. What level of drinking means someone is physically dependent on alcohol? The answer to that is it's not a level of drinking. So physical dependency depends on who you are as an individual. So different individuals will be physically dependent at different amounts of drinking. If you're a smaller if you're small, wiry female compared to a large 6'2" man, the amount you would need to drink to be physically dependent would differ. And there is no stated amount. So when we are assessing physical dependency in the medical profession, when they're assessing whether someone has physical dependency, the actual answer is they can't base it on consumption. They can only base it by this person has started or stopped drinking or started to reduce their drinking, and they're experiencing. So most people won't know they're physically dependent until they start to stop. And it's not associated with a particular level of drinking. It's to do with how the body's dealt with alcohol. You can actually become physically dependent on quite a high level of alcohol. You can then keep your alcohol level low and be drinking less, but remain physically dependent because you haven't managed to take control, and your body is still wanting alcohol. And if you then stop, you then experience those tremors. So it's actually quite a complex science. But it's a great question. I'm sorry not to give a kind of simple answer, which is like, I'd love to say 50 units, but it ain't that simple. Question about some low alcohol drinks. Have you found ones that go well into recipes to reply high alcohol ones? Yeah. So I would recommend a cider. This cider makes a fantastic. It makes a great gravy. It goes really well in a stew, and there's plenty of others out there. I'm not promoting this brand in particular. I would look for good quality. I think often the brands that have made cider that is good quality cider and have an alcohol-free version of that, they often tend to be able to replicate that cider. I mean, that in particular, many people wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You'd be able to tell the difference after 3 of them because clearly you'd be experiencing the effects. But you taste-wise, very, very challenging to tell. They make amazing recipes, but also any good IPA. So Gay Ship and Citra. One of these is this is an IPA, and this is a citrus pale ale. They'll both make really nice stews. You can stick them in those sorts of things. And I mean, who doesn't like a beef casserole with a stout? I mean, pretty much any of those will work. As we all know, the alcohol cooks out anyway. So putting these in, it's for liquid, and it's for flavour. And these things have got bags of them. They've got bags of liquid, and they've obviously got liquid. They've got bags of flavour as well. So yeah, they will absolutely be perfect to cook with. I think that's the questions I've received so far. I hope that was helpful so far. I'll wait for a few questions to come in, but if I just mainly summarise kind of, because I know we've covered a lot of ground. It depends where you're at in your drinking journey, but I'd say the first thing is about control. Taking control of your drinking is hard. It's really, really hard. But once you do it, the rewards are incredible. The rewards for yourself, psychologically, knowing you've done it, but also that sleep, that energy, the health and fitness in the moment, by which I mean this week, next week, that kind of stuff, as well as those long-term health benefits. Now, I don't know about you, but I like a good risk curve, but I find it hard to worry too much about kind of what's going to happen to me in 20, 30 years' time. But I love how I feel today, and I think that those sorts of things for me are the real win. So the rewards of getting control of your drinking, and we would definitely use that phrase, are great. So when we talk about being alcohol-free, we don't mean being free of alcohol. We mean free of the control. Free of the control it has over your life. And I think to get that, you need that break. So I would massively encourage people to take that break. There's something called Sober Spring, which started it's quite pagan. It started on the 20th of March, which is the equinox, and it runs till the solstice on the 20th of June. Doesn't involve any weird pagan rituals, honestly. You just it's 93 days without a drink. If you started now, you're starting 10 days late, so you get to 83 days. Any of you out there who could go the next 83 days without drinking, you'd probably want some support to come and join our Facebook group, Dry January and Beyond, which I think, like Man vs. Fat group, got that lovely feel, supportive, non-judgmental, honest, loads of people sharing kind of what's going on. We've got about 7,000 people on those groups. Help you through that journey. I couldn't recommend it highly enough. And once you get to that point, you'll never look back. So thousands and thousands of people come to us, and millions of people come to us through Dry January. But what's really exciting is that long-term journey for them, that long-term change, whether it's long-term moderation, long-term abstinence, whatever works for them, or alcohol freedom, some people call that, or whether it's just, keeping on top of it, but knowing that you can turn it on and off. I know people who say, I don't know what they always talk about alcohol is, I can take it or leave it. I kind of think, brilliant. Because I was not that person. I was not someone who could take it or leave it. I couldn't leave it. I could only take it. And I think that's what, ultimately, looking in the mirror, I just felt I wasn't really in control of my life, and I was only here once, right? I'm only going to be here once. Like, talk about the past tense, so I'm only here once. I didn't want that feeling of always having this, and it is a chemical substance that's put in drinks and marketed as, and then surrounded by this culture in which we all feel we have to join in. I didn't want that controlling my life, and I love being free of it. So I think that's probably my kind of core message is give it a go. Expect it to be hard, but the rewards will come and they will be amazing. If there are any other questions, I'd be delighted to answer them. I'm on the group, so if questions come in over the next couple of days, I'll check in and have a look. But I think we're pretty much out of time. I've managed to gabble on nearly for an hour. I'm really grateful to you for joining me, for your support for Man vs Fat. I hope you like my t-shirt. I couldn't quite get it on the screen, but love my t-shirt. Thank you for the t-shirt, guys. Enjoy the football, because it's got to be about fun, right? However good or bad you are. And thank you ever so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to chat to you, and best of luck with everything, guys.